Justice Evelyn Anyadike of the Federal High Court in Umuahia, Abia State, has ordered the federal government to restore Nnamdi Kanu to his status quo before 19 June 2021. She also ordered the government to pay 500 million naira as damages to him in the ruling on fundamental human rights and extraordinary rendition of the leader of the proscribed indigenous peoples of Biafra, IPOB. The court also issued an injunction restraining the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, from prosecuting Kanu consequent upon his extraordinary rendition. In March this year, Kanu had filed a suit through his special counsel, Aloy Ejimako, to enforce his fundamental rights, which originated from what his counsel had termed as extraordinary rendition from Kenya in June last year. Also today, another big story, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has announced plans to redesign the 200, 500, and 1,000 naira notes. Governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, disclosed this during a special press briefing in Abuja, where he said that the redesign will take effect from Thursday, December 15, 2022. He also said that existing notes will cease to be regarded as legal tender by January 31, 2023.
Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele has announced that the redesigned 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes would be in circulation from December 15th. The move, according to Emefiele, is to curb excess money in circulation. The CBN governor further stated that the Apex Bank's ability to efficiently handle currency management has been affected by certain challenges.
These challenges primarily include: 1. Significant hoarding of banknotes by members of the public, with statistics showing that over 85% of currency in circulation are outside the vaults of our commercial banks. To be more specific, as at the end of September 2022, available data at the CBN indicate that 2.73 trillion naira out of the 3.23 trillion naira currency in circulation was outside the vaults of commercial banks across the country and supposedly held by members of the public. Evidently, currency in circulation has more than doubled since 2015, rising from 1.46 trillion in December 2015 to 3.23 trillion as of September 2022.
According to the Apex Bank, the redesigning would help to address the insecurity bedeviling the nation, as the new notes would come with enhanced security features.
Also, in view of the prevailing level of security situation in the country, the CBN is convinced that the incidents of terrorism and kidnapping will be minimized, as access to large volume of money outside the banking system used as source of funds for ransom payments will begin to dry up.
Emefiele, who stated that existing notes would cease to be regarded as legal tender by January 31st, 2023, also noted that in line with the transition from old notes to new ones, bank charges for cash deposits have been suspended with immediate effect. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Hamza Idris. Tonight on the program, we are joined by the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, PDP, Prince Adewole Adebayo. Together, we will be discussing issues in the polity, chances of his party in 2023, among others. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yes. Two of our big stories, maybe starting with the first one, before we get to the issue of the day, your party. A court in Umuahia said Nnamdi Kanu should be taken back to Kenya. As a barrister, what is your take on this judgment?
Well, the court is a competent court. It's a federal high court. So you cannot accuse the court of having no jurisdiction. So once the court has jurisdiction, you are bound to respect the judgment of the court. And if any party is not satisfied with the judgment of the court, they can go for appellate review of the case. So the Federal High Court giving a judgment against the federal government over a matter that occurred in Nigeria, I think that's fairly, especially coming under fundamental human rights, I think that's, for a lawyer, that's a good start. Whether the federal government is happy with the judgment, now it's a matter for the Attorney General to decide. The only thing I can say is that, given what I know as the basis of the rendition and all the problems associated with the agitation by IPOB, this is not a matter that can be judicially resolved. It has to be a matter that has to be resolved politically under a strong leadership. One thing we must understand is that the sovereignty of Nigeria cannot be compromised. Okay. And the territorial integrity of Nigeria cannot be compromised. The unity and integrity of the country cannot be compromised. However, the liberty, the freedom, the ability of any Nigerian to criticize the system, to proffer alternatives, whether they are laudable or otherwise, should also be respected. Yeah. So that's why I say it.
The 500 million naira damages, is it worth it?
Yeah, that is, it will depend on the facts. Okay. That the court sees. It could be reviewed on appeal. I may also stand on appeal. But the most important thing is that fundamental rights are respected by courts and they are highly valued. So sometimes the court can award extraordinary or exemplary damages if the violation is regarded as gross violation. But all of this is subject to an appeal.
Yeah, but we already have a case at the Court of Appeal here in Abuja. It, of course, discharged him, but the federal government gave some reasons that he will be a risk, he will jump bail. Just yesterday, I think they filed a counter defense to that effect. So how do we reconcile this, even though you said it will not be resolved using courts and all that?
You cannot resolve it. It's the same thing I said when ASU was taken to the court. Matters of that nature are not resolved by court, because the duty of the court is to do justice according to the law. And sometimes the law itself is the problem.
The law itself?
Yes.
How, barrister?
If you pass a law that says that people born in Nigeria on Saturdays are not supposed to be employed, the court is going to look at it and say, this person was born on a Saturday, therefore you're right not to employ him. Another court will look at it and say, the Constitution does not allow such discrimination. So the back and forth of it is not going to resolve the emotional aspect of the issue. It's not going to resolve the policy aspect of the issue. The job of a court is to tell you what the law says. But it cannot make what the law says to be satisfactory to you. Yeah. So when a matter touches on politics, touches on fundamental disagreement about the state of the country, fundamental disagreement about policies and all of that, I think I, as a leader, will make sure that I find political solutions to them rather than legalistic solutions, because people are rarely ever going to get satisfied with that. So the best thing to do is to make sure that we find solutions that can last. I don't see any reason why a sitting government will not be able to resolve it. I believe if this kind of matter comes up while we are in government, we will resolve it very quickly.
We have similar case, that of ex-Zaki, from one court to the other, and it has not been resolved up till now. Do you foresee it maybe metamorphosing into another thing if this government did not resolve it, or you still believe this government can do it using the political option?
No, I think that the government, if I have to be honest, is just oppressing ex-Zaki for nothing.
Okay.
Yes, because and we should be careful. The law is such that the government is supposed to be the protector of the most obnoxious people.
But they accuse him of trying to cause insurrection in the land.
What I'm saying
just
is
like Nnamdi Kanu.
Yeah, you can accuse all these people of trying to cause insurrection. I can even accuse people in government of trying to cause insurrection. Because
people in government?
Yes, because of some of the policies they take. Because if people react to them according to how they behave, for example, if you had ASU on strike for 8 months, in some other country that would cause insurrection because the young people will be on the street. So if people are hungry and food prices keep going up and going up and going up and you don't do anything about it, that's likely to cause insurrection. If people are unemployed for so long, it's likely to cause insurrection. If people are being kidnapped, bandits killing people, it can cause insurrection. So
invariably you are saying political solution.
Yeah, it's the best because in public life, decisions are to be taken.
Okay.
And you have to take those decisions. And in every decision you take in government, there are winners and losers. Every decision you take. So what you need to do as a leader is to ensure that, as they will say, I'm an Ondo prince, so they always have a proverb that you chastise the child with the right hand and pamper the child with the left hand.
But you see, Barrister, people in government accuse some of you who are aspiring to get power of actually siding with some of these people who are causing problems for the country, rather than scolding them and also maybe supporting government in a way to find a lasting solution to some of these agitations.
No, what I say is that government is already powerful. It doesn't need additional power. What government needs is advice.
Okay.
What government is moderation. A government is like a heavy-duty truck that has no brake. So
it
sometimes
can crash anything.
Yeah. So sometimes you have to be outside and throw something to shock or support or stall them. But when the government is making a mistake, their internal system may not be able to warn them enough. So you will need someone from outside to warn them.
Right.
The same thing we have been doing for a long time.
All right.
President Buhari himself was on the street protesting in years past.
Yeah.
And he could have been arrested and charged with attempt to cause insurrection.
Okay.
There was a time in this country that one Marilyn Oga was calling El-Rufai all sorts of names. It's people like us who say, no, he has the right to criticize the government of the day. So criticizing a government is not
really
enough to make you an enemy of the government.
All right.
Secondly, there is no limit to what you can contribute by way of criticism.
Okay.
What I am against are the following. One, anybody who does not respect the sovereignty of Nigeria doesn't have my support. Any person who does not respect the indivisibility of Nigeria doesn't have my respect. Anybody who does not respect the diversity of Nigeria, which the government is highly guilty of, doesn't have my respect. Anybody who doesn't respect the sanctity of life of other Nigerians who know that however laudable, however worthy is the cause you are pursuing, you cannot use tyranny or any form of force to force people to join you.
You will not be with him.
Yeah, I cannot be with this person. And lastly, any person who does not open their heart to possible reconciliation, I don't think that person is right.
All right, thank you very much. The second story, briefly, CBN redesigning the Naira. And it gave so many reasons that it will take money off the hands of terrorists, bandits, politicians who hoarded the money in their houses. You know, it would also maybe bring back the value of the Naira. Do you believe the CBN governor?
I can only congratulate the CBN governor that he has successfully awarded another contract. You know, he's managed to get himself another contract awarded because bandits don't print the money. Every money, every note is issued by the central bank. So if you find money in the hand of any bandit, that money came from the government because government is the issuer of money. And if you look at what they have been doing by way of quantitative easing in the last several years, where they are over-monetizing the system and printing more Naira to fund their deficit. They cause the circulation of the currency.
He said over 80% of money is not really in the banks, but just moving around.
Look, you have the 3 level of analysis. And you will see when you do the 3 levels, you will understand. One is that the governor of the central bank is the one issuing the notes. The board of governors, because there's, unlike what people think, you have more than one governor in central bank. So there's a board of governors, the governor and the deputy governors. They're the one controlling the bank. Then you have the bankers committee. They're supposed to be the one in charge of circulation of money, custody of money, and all of that. So it is not possible for any excess money outside the banking system not to be traceable to the policy of the central bank. What they have done in recent times, which is to try to increase interest rate so that people can put money in the bank. I think interest rate is getting close to 16% to 20% now, which is a little more realistic than what they had before. But the real problem that they have is that they haven't managed inflation well. And when you don't manage inflation well, people who are wise are not going to save their money in the bank and get negative interest, so that you are worse off with your money in the bank than if you use it to buy something. Thirdly, they are the ones spending the most of the money. Anybody who has excess money is most likely to have one connection or the other with the government. So a woman who is in Ibadan frying akara doesn't get money she doesn't deserve.
Okay.
Because people pay her just to
earn money.
Yes. So someone who is in Kano selling ram does not get money of 2 ram for 1 ram. So the only place you get money for hanging around is government. That's where you get money just for being friends with people in authority. So you cannot say, therefore, that someone who receives his salary and the salary is 100,000 naira, and that salary is not enough to carry him to the end of the month, is the one holding your money, 80% of your money. So what they need to do is they can change the currency notes and all of that, but that will only give them some respite for 18 months.
No mileage.
No, just 18 months.
Will you mean it will not restore the value of the naira in any way?
No, the value of the naira is what the naira can buy. There are 2 measurements of the value of the naira. The domestic measurement is what the money can buy. So if I give you 200 naira, the only reason you are going to reject it is that you cannot pay your Uber, you cannot even pay your Achaba, you cannot buy you food. So you say this is your money is useless.
Emefiele said he got the buy-in of the president and Federal Executive Council. Now, if you were the president, will you give him that?
If I were the president, Emefiele will not be a gate man in the central bank.
All right, thank you very much. Because this is how far we can go with the tidbits today. We will take a short break, and when we return, the discussion of the day will commence. Stay with us.
This is the road leading up to the Lokoja Bridge from Abuja, and as you can see, tankers carrying fuel, trucks carrying livestock, perishables, and commuters trying to make their way from point A to point B have all been slowed down as a result of the flooding going on in Lokoja.
As I tell you, so my house is inside water like this.
This is my house. Big Music is my house.
We have no option than to come here and look for what we chop.
This water have really spoiled many things. Even as I'm talking to you, I'm not in my own house.
I want to encourage them and assure them that their governor, the governor they elected, had come to see them, and government officials have been going there to see them. They are not in this alone. We are with them.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. We have Barrister Adewale Adebayo, the SDP presidential candidate. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes, before we went for a break, you said if you were the president, Emefiele will not be the gate man. A big soundbite there, but I will come back to that later. This is the first time at the national scale. I mean, people are hearing about Adewale Adebayo. Why the presidency?
Well, this is the first time I'm forced to blow my own trumpet. I've always been available. I've always been tried to be a useful citizen. I've always been operating. I've many years of appearing on television, analyzing national issues. The reason why I am intervening now is because I've realized that talking is not enough.
It's not enough.
It's not enough because there are two categories of people in government. Those who don't know what they are doing, and it's too late for them to know. So you can talk for 8 years, they will not understand what you're saying. Those who know what they are doing, but decided to do the wrong thing because they are benefiting from it. It doesn't matter how long you talk. What they are benefiting will not let them see reason with you. So what you are recommending, they know that's the right thing to do. But the interest they have in the wrong thing will not make them do the right thing. So what can you do therefore? You just offer yourself and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And hopefully your countrymen and women, old and young, will understand that we can't afford to be opening the book of lamentation when we have alternatives. So it's only when there's no alternative. So at the beginning of a government, you owe the government cooperation. Every government that has come in my adult life in this country, at the beginning of the government, I give them cooperation. Even if I had my reservation about the government, I would give them cooperation. In the middle, when they start to go wrong, I will give them criticism and suggestions. At the end, when we want to choose a new government, I provide an alternative. So that's how you do it. There is nothing complex. You can see that the British, despite hundreds of years, they too make mistakes.
Serious ones.
So, and they realize...
There are many prime ministers in less than
but
a decade.
The advantage they have is that they course correct. We dig down, we double down, we triple down when we make mistakes. We think it's an ego. A government policy can be wrong.
And you change it.
You change it. Even sometimes when I'm going to my house, I take the wrong turn if I get distracted. All I need to do is to turn and face the right way. You cannot be in government and not make mistakes. But you must have an organizing principle that brings you to government. And that organizing principle must be shared with the people of Nigeria. And what I have seen over time is that the organizing principle is to make more money for those who are in government. And the people outside don't share that view, and they don't understand. They assume that many of these incongruous policies arise only from incompetence of government. No. So what you have is that I'm now coming to say, why don't we do two things?
Yeah.
Why don't we make a difference? Say, for example, let's eradicate poverty. That we can do easily, given the resources that we have, given the aspirational attitude of our people. Secondly, let's get rid of insecurity. Let's minimize insecurity. Because we appear to be accepting layers and layers of insecurity. Because there was a time in this country where you could live from age of 1 to age of 90 without hearing a gunshot.
90 years?
Yes, without hearing a single gunshot. Where policemen only have sticks.
But is there anywhere in the world now that you can live like that?
You can live like that in the UK. You can live in the UK for many years without seeing a policeman with a gun. So, and when we had the Civil War, Then we had armed robbery and all of that. We set up the armed robbery, firearms and armed robbery tribunal. We did all of that.
Yeah.
We did all of that. Now, we didn't get rid of armed robbery. People grew up in the 70s getting used to, armed robber here, armed robber over there. Then on top of that, we started having terrorism. We thought it was just a fluke. It's going to go away. If you are, those who are voting now are born into terrorism. Then after that, we had banditry join with it. Now we're having kidnapping. So what do you expect next? So for once and for all, you have to put your security foot down and address this insecurity. And
every candidate mentioned these issues: insecurity, corruption, economy, and others. I will ask you a question on that, but why SDP, not PDP, APC, LP, PRP, or any of the? Why SDP? Is it the SDP of Abiola of 1993, or this is a new SDP?
Okay, now, if you are trying to cure rabies, you cannot make dogs your doctors, because dogs carry the most rabies. So if you want to get rid of corruption, poverty, and insecurity, if you are serious about it, you will not look at APC twice. You will not even consider PDP, because these are vectors of these problems. So those two are out. Then you go to the next layer. Anybody who is masquerading to be something else, but who's already vested and settled within them, who was part of their decision-making in the past, whatever label they are carrying now, you also have to eliminate them. Then you go to the new people and see whether they are just talking descriptively about the problem, or they are finding solution prescriptively to the problem. So if it's raining, anyone outside, even a person who is visually impaired, will hear the sound and say it's raining. So that's not a solution. You just observe. So many of the candidates stop at the level of, oh, there's corruption. But they won't tell you why, where, who.
And how to even solve it.
Yes, so that is where the Social Democratic Party is different. And when you talk about Abiola, there's no way you can mention the Social Democratic Party without mentioning Abiola for three reasons. One, the issues for which Abiola ran are the same issues that are valid now.
Now?
Yes, because Abiola ran Farewell to Poverty, Hope 93. Is poverty not worse? So can you do anything meaningful in public life, in politics?
30 years after.
Yes, without addressing poverty. So whether you like Abiola or not, you have to know that he was right in his diagnosis, and the Social Democratic Party was right. Secondly, the Nigerian people agreed. MK, Abiola, and SDP were voted overwhelmingly. So, thirdly, the fact that that mandate was not allowed to manifest shows that that problem should have been solved by the parties that took over after. But these parties, rather than solve the problem, worsen the problem. So we are trying now to go back to the beginning, because when I talk about eradicating poverty, the way these other political parties react is unrealistic. It's just talking. It cannot be done. Shows to me why it hasn't been done, that they've given up. They assume that we're going to have generations upon generations being born, living, and dying in poverty, and that a few will continue to become rich. If you look at it now, the governors of today are richer than the governors of the Second Republic. The ministers of today are richer than the ministers of the Second Republic.
Nobody
The commissioners of today are richer than the commissioners of... The permanent secretaries of today are richer than the permanent secretary of the First Republic, Second Republic. But the people of Nigeria today are poorer than the people of the First Republic. The people are poorer than the people of the Second Republic. People are poorer than the people of the Third Republic.
Where is the missing link?
It's because they are traveling in opposite direction.
The poor here,
yes,
then the elite here.
Yes, because the elite travel towards the central bank to go and take the money, an NMPC. The people...
But people don't keep accounts in central bank.
let me let you know, you see, the people in government control the central bank, control the NMPC, control customs, control the trade ministry, control all the commanding heights of the economy. These enormous powers given to those who are running these institutions is meant for them to galvanize the resources of the country, to improve the living standards of the people, to improve the productivity of the people, to improve the general welfare of the people, and to create futures funds and opportunities for people's talent and for the next generation to meet something on the ground. Now, what they are assuming is that because they are there, government money looks like a lot to them. Because if you have 54 ministers or thereabout, and you are budgeting 20 trillion, so you say, oh, you know, 5 billion to my ministry, 35 billion to your ministry, so you look like big men. But if you look at the people you are representing, that money is not that much for them. So the people at the top, the people in government, have created a Nigeria for themselves, where they are about raising their own.
But some will say you're one of them.
No, I'm not one of them. I must say I've been fortunate in Nigeria, and I thank God for that, and I'm grateful to Nigeria for that. I've been fortunate from the day I was born. I was born in the right country, at the right time, into the right family. However, I have made a lot of contributions. I've worked very hard. And you can
as a private citizen or somebody working?
As a private citizen, okay. I've done my due. I've listened to instructions when I was young. When I finished school, I've worked. And I've been fortunate to know that material things and the grabbing things is not as important as making concrete contributions to the country. But the reason people I'm running for are those who have not been fortunate like me.
Okay.
Because they are in majority. And not because they are not intelligent, not because they are not good people, just because of circumstances that happen to them in life. And I believe that the worst Nigerian, in terms of welfare, the poorest Nigerian, should still be the same standard as the poorest person in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, and all those other countries in UAE, if we manage our resources well. Which means that however bad situation might be in this country, we have enormous resources capable of giving nutritional value to every child from childhood to adulthood, give modest, decent housing to every Nigerian, give a sound and affordable education to every Nigerian, give affordable and reliable
But how can you do that?
How you do that is by...
Every other person is saying there is no money in Nigeria.
Anybody who tells you that there's no money in Nigeria is your enemy.
But how can you now explain to Nigerians that there is money and you will be able to use it to build roads, to build the houses you are talking about, to take care of the,
I have explained it to Nigerians. I started my campaign by telling Nigerians that there is money in government. Otherwise, these people will not be returning there. There's money. And people thought that was a parable. So I decided to tell them that 80% of the crude oil produced in Nigeria is being stolen. I raised the alarm and started talking about it.
Where did you get the figures? 80%?
I've always got the figure.
Are you into oil? And
I've been an oil industry lawyer for many years. But for any person who wants to be a commander-in-chief, you have to have access to intelligence. You have to know what's going on. You have to have appreciation of the situation. Before you can leave your home and say, I want to be the president of Nigeria, you must know what the president needs to know, even before you come in. You cannot get in there and say, oh, I never knew it was this bad. With due respect, and with utmost respect to the president who is there, there's a lot I know that even the incumbent president doesn't know. So,
because of your involvement in the oil?
Because of paying attention to these issues, you know that 80% of the crude is being stolen. You also know that there's leakage in customs when people are paying dues. You also know there's leakage in inland revenue. You also know and should know that in Zamfara, in Gombe, in Nasarawa, in Kogi, in Osun, in many states, foreigners are coming to this country to steal our solid minerals and rare earth minerals. The amount of lithium stolen out of Nigeria every year is worth trillions. So you see many Asian-looking people being escorted by mobile police all over nooks and crannies of Nigeria. So why am I raising all these issues? It's not because I'm now a crime reporter. No. I'm raising these issues to let you know that the poverty that the government is institutionalizing, because
self-induced.
Self-induced, and they are part of it. For example, the budget that Nigeria has today is a budget of falsehood. It's a budget of lies. They are saying that the only money we could raise is about 11 trillion thereabout, and that the rest we have to borrow. That's not true. Actually not true.
How?
Because the Minister of Petroleum is the president himself. So he cannot tell me that I can know pipelines where crude is being stolen. And he who is sitting on the job, he's head of SSS, he's head of the police, he's head of the armed forces, he's head of military intelligence, NI, everywhere. He's the head of everything. He can snap his finger and see the whole of Nigeria if he wants to. He can't say, and he receives the report, he signs on all oil acreages. He cannot say that he doesn't know that this visible pipeline that fishermen can see, anybody can see, he cannot see it. He cannot say that vessels twice the size of this complex where you have your studio, some 5 times the size, traveling at 15 knots on our territorial waters, that he cannot see them. If he cannot see them, he has a whole navy. He cannot see them. How can I see them? I can see them with my naked eyes.
If I get you, you're implicating almost every other person in government.
So yes, the people in government are implicating themselves. If the owner of this station comes into this studio and all the cameras are gone, and you say, I don't know how the camera went, you are implicating yourself. So what I'm saying, therefore, is that the poverty that we have in this country is a government program, because they decided to side with foreign thieves, foreign criminals to steal our resources, while pretending to us that this is the only barriers we can produce. That's not correct. Secondly, it is not a partisan thing. It is not an APC problem. Under PDP, they also stole the same crude. So it's not about an anti-APC thing. So in this country, the security knows. There are people even at lower level, not only at the federal government level, at level of state. There are chief executives in some states that are sponsoring stealing of solid minerals, stealing of crude oil. So what I'm bringing all of this to is not to become a whistleblower. It's to let people know that we are a rich country blessed by God. And that if you change the government of the day and put patriots in government, you will discover that this artificial poverty will go away. And why I'm getting really riled up by it is that when we come to say, let us invest in Chapter 2 of the Constitution, fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, that let us spend our money on the welfare of our people, on the education of our people, on security of our people, and let the accommodating heights of our economy not be in the hand of a few elite, that we can actually empower people. They say, oh, you are promising too much. So
yeah,
is it me promising too much,
okay, but now
or you are stealing too much?
Now that you are looking towards to becoming president, how can you do it differently?
This is very simple. I'm already doing differently. You are already thinking differently. That the government of Nigeria is not for a few elite to become super billionaires. Look at the trajectory of people you know. In 1999 to 2000, thereabout, if you are flying Chachangi, any airline, you'll find the governor sitting with you. You must have experienced it. Ministers sitting with you. Do you see them anymore? They're all in private jets. You will see them holding meetings all around town. Now they go to London. Some of my co-contestants go to Paris for lunch just to discuss strategy. So is that the kind of government you are talking about? So you're already thinking differently. That's number one. The presidency is the president, vice president from plus 6,000 people. So when I get elected, we are bringing 6,000 people who think differently too, who are not there.
You'll be able to control them?
Yes, because if you have 6,000 people in the presidency, each of whom wants to go away as a billionaire, that is where we have problems. There's nothing more complex than that. And in order for a black man in government to make 1 billion, he has to allow foreign thieves to come and take away trillions. because you can't just walk down daily into the central bank and take the money. So you have to fake up a project and inflate the contract. You have to open your waterways and allow international oil thieves to come in and steal the crude. And what you need to understand, and why I'm talking about it, is that the countries that are receiving this crude, countries like Holland, Switzerland, they say that they are law-abiding people, they are nice people, they are closing prisons in their country, they are fantastic people, they are not criminals, but they are receiving stolen crude from poor people of Nigeria, so who are crossing the desert to go to their country. So how fair is that? And I've been talking to the Dutch to say, I see you with your nice bicycles, you are eating your cheese, you look like good people, you have your Dutch Reformed Church, you look like decent people, you are closing prisons down, but you are actually part of an international crime family that is robbing the people of this country. So now that is happening. So how do you allow that to happen? And your people who look like you, who talk like you, from within whom you arise, you are telling them that they could die in poverty. Look at it. I took my time to go to Kano State. Between Kano and Gumel, I went to Gezawa, where the Accountant General of the Federation, who took 109 billion, comes from. I went round to see whether he has been there before, to know that those people need the money. So this is what is happening.
And you will stop this?
You have to stop it, because if you don't stop it, it's death to the country.
Okay,
how can you have a country?
You need to get there before you stop the mess.
Yes.
This question I want to ask you is twofold.
Yes.
You are from the Southwest. Some people are saying you just get into this to serve as a spoiler to the candidate of the Southwest, Tinubu of the APC. While others are saying you are on the same page, much later you will pull back and then support him. How true are these?
First and foremost, I am running to be president of Nigeria to fix these problems I'm talking about, and this problem that you are seeing.
You are serious about it?
Anybody who listens to me with seriousness will get the seriousness of the situation. Because in this country, everything is comedy to many people. But if you are looking around you and you've been to places where families have been displaced, you've been to a place where a generation has been raised in the Northeast that live in war zone, that none of these things is funny to them. When you look at the number of people who are paying ransom to keep their family, to recover their families, and they are recovering dead bodies. If you look at how many accidents are caused by potholes, if you travel from Abuja to Kaduna, nothing will be funny to you anymore. If you travel from Abuja to Jos and spend 6.5 hours climbing the Chapawadi Hill, you would know that nothing is a joke.
So if I get you, you are serious in the contest?
I have always been serious in my life. As for the person who you mentioned, anything that can spoil what he's doing is good for the country, because such people are not supposed to be there. Why I say so is that every promise that they have made has failed. Every opportunity that has been given, they have used it to enrich themselves. Many of them who served in government, for every hour they work for the public, they work 23 for their own self-aggrandizement. So they built a financial empire with which they want to perpetually now become overlords. So you cannot allow them. But I'm not about them. I'm about the child who is spending 11 years to study medicine. I'm about the child whose dream. I have 5 wards of mine who wants to study medicine. They are brilliant, but there's no space for them. So I'm running because of those people. I'm running because of a woman who I met in Lagos who said, I'm supporting you because I want my children who have run abroad to come back home. That's why I'm here.
But did you get the buy-in of your people from the South? Because we know that Afenifere, for instance, they endorsed Peter Obi of the Labour Party.
My people are the people of Nigeria. I'm not an ethnic candidate.
Okay.
Any person who is in the territory of Nigeria are my people. As for Afenifere, if you want my frank opinion, Chief Ayo Adebanjo is a man that I respect a lot. He's a man that is incorruptible. So the position he took is not as if he was paid money to take it.
Okay.
He takes his position based on principle. He's a man of high principle. So I respect him. The fact that the decision he has taken doesn't favor me doesn't mean I don't respect him.
Okay.
But he has no talent for choosing winners. So over the time, since 1960, he has never supported anybody who has won anything.
So it wouldn't be a serious problem. But there are
so it's not a problem
there
for
are allegations,
me.
Your Excellency,
Yes.
that your party is actually causing problems in some places in order to have, for instance, in Rivers. Magnus Abe is your candidate, right?
Yes, very fantastic
that
guy.
He was instrumental to the crisis of APC, which led to the cancellation of their primaries. Is it true?
What I can tell you, with all responsibility, is that the mere existence of APC, he says it's a national crisis. That party should be defunct by now. If you see what they've caused across the country. Now, any person who has stomached 1,000 injustices, who just decides to say, I reject this one, is seen by them as a troublemaker. What Magnus Abe is doing in Rivers is to say that let the people of Rivers freely elect their leader. And Magnus Abe is not in government. He doesn't control the police. He doesn't have enormous money. What he has is goodwill. So why don't you let him do what he needs to do? The same way they think that I'm out to make trouble, because I'm running election. What they are used to is a situation where they have these cloned parties who always come to them to say, give me money, let me step down for you, let me support you. That's not happening now. And they have to get used to competition. And this is the era of beavers. So this is not era, many of the people, even the march that we had in Rivers is not the call card of SDP. Normally, this is not the kind of thing we do. We just wait on the election day and let you see.
Okay.
But we just thought that, okay, the people want to gather together to make a statement, let them make it.
Even though you're optimistic of winning, but in the event you didn't win, maybe Atiku, Obi, or Tinubu, get it. Will they make a good president?
Let me tell you something clearly. I'm not in the pool betting speculation business.
Okay.
These people don't have the support of the people. And this time around, without the support of the people, you can't win anything. What they have is they have political infrastructure, and they have enormous money, and they have a lot of friends in the media.
But do you have similar thing that you're optimistic of winning? Are you thinking of maybe some parties will support you to get it?
There are parties who are talking with one another. Those are parties that have ideological convergence. They're talking, and you will see very soon, you will see that some parties, YPP, ADC, AAC, parties that have real people who actually want to run election, are talking. Okay. And I will be surprised if all of us go into election opposing each other.
So you are thinking of alliance most likely?
The alliance, but the alliance, not alliance with the wrongdoers.
Okay.
Not alliance with people buying you out. Alliance of people who are representing the common masses and who believe that if we are saying 99% of the same thing, why do we need to break down the vote of the people? So we come together. Those who are not ready for ego, those who are independent. Let me say something that shocks me, but I found out after repeated testing that is correct. The number of independent politicians in Nigeria is not up to 1,000. Somebody is always an agent or somebody who is sponsoring somebody. So they are all linked together, like that. So we who are independent politicians who are running on our own steam, representing the people, now are beginning to identify ourselves, and we're beginning to coalesce together and to try to work out. Remember, at the first iteration, I was going around as the candidate of the third force.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to bring everybody together into a merger. But we saw the landmines that they lay ahead for us. We don't want to be steaming in some quagmire. So we decided, okay, go and do your primaries. If you bring ideologically sound people, patriots, and they are all running, and they are leading people, then when the issues converge, based on principle, we'll work together.
We have run out of time, so in 30 seconds, you were in Kaduna.
Yes.
Were you the person who the Northern Elders chose as preferred candidate?
Northern Elders did not come there to choose the preferred candidate. What the Northern Elders said was that we gave the most convincing and the best presentation. So it's now left for the Nigerian people to take that into account, that all these noisemakers who shattered jets to the place, who came with all kinds of...
But you suppose they can make a difference, their decision of the Northern makers?
I think they set up a process that we should all emulate all over the country, where, for one, all the different groups in the North came together, number one. Number two, they use objective standard, the same question for the same candidates. And then all those who now had nothing to offer were able to get there and embarrass themselves. And those who have solutions to the problem will now, we've presented it. The fact that we did the best in Arewa House doesn't mean we won the election. It's just that we've explained ourselves. We can now go and do the nitty-gritty, polling booth by polling booth, ward by ward, local government by local government, state by state. Nobody who is lazy, who doesn't engage with the people, is going to win this election. I can guarantee you that.
All right, thank you very much. We're happy having you, Barrister Adeole Adebayo, the SDP presidential candidate for the 2023 elections. I hope we get you again.
I will always be here, and I thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
Well, viewers, that's a wrap on today's program. We hope you enjoyed it. Hoping that you will join us tomorrow for another edition of Thank you very much. I'm Hamza Idris.